I don't know what that was. I thought this was going to be a simple review. This film is extremely fascinating. It's different, it's perplexing. I haven't seen a film of this ilk in a long time. It is inexorably awful as a movie, but it's still something that's difficult to categorise. Weirdly enough, I'm going to start with some positives. It is an attempt at doing something partially new with the franchise. It did things that I did not expect. It surprised me. It's quite experimental.
Hey. I've never worn different glasses before.
Yeah, it looks good.
Can you hear me, Thomas? Follow my voice.
As a distant sequel to a household film franchise, it has both the elements of a T2 Trainspotting and a Force Awakens, a Twin Peaks The Return and an Amazing Spider-Man 1. There are themes that build upon the philosophical discussions that were showcased in the original trilogy, and it isn't just simply empty pseudo-profound platitudes that it's spouting. Quite a lot of the things it comes out with are substantially rich and meaty philosophically. The problem is, in all of the objective realms of storytelling and filmmaking, it is diabolically inept.
Mr. Anderson!
No, it can't be.
Hey, you trying to ball my mom or what? Brandon.
The characters are flat charisma vacuums, and their performances are so amateur to the degree that will be instantly noticeable to even the most casual film goer.
I don't know. But I'm going to find out.
Oh my god. I have to get you out of here. I need to figure out who built this model.
You aren't going to be able to connect with any of these characters. They all just seem phony, like you're watching a bunch of student film actors.
So deja vu, and yet it's obviously all wrong.
Why use old code to mirror something new?
I don't know.
Yeah. Sure.
It's jarring to see this in a multi-million-dollar movie. There's not an air of professional filmmaking to it. And then there's Keanu Reeves, and I hate to burst your bubble, but he is not a good actor. He is a really nice human being who can occasionally turn in a affable and charismatic performance when given the right role. He's just about competent in the original Matrix films. He just about gets by. And Bill and Ted was a movie where the worse the acting was, the funnier it was. It aided the film that the acting was kind of stupid. Without a very talented director to guide him, Keanu would just revert back to the acting caliber of someone in the room even. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but when you do see his weaknesses, and they're shown and they're revealed in this film, you're like, this is just not a competent performance.
Dude, no, stop. I know you. I'm living inside a computer-generated reality that has imprisoned me. Again.
However, that isn't to say that it's not entertaining to watch him in this film, because it's actually fucking hilarious.
Oh. No. No. It was a test. An experiment.
Watching him in this film made me feel like I was watching a YTP of some sort. Some kind of shitpost. In fact, a lot of the film made me feel like I was watching a YTP. It almost works better if you think about it like that. Like it was all some kind of elaborate joke on the audience, like Inland Empire or something. So the acting's bad, but the dialogue is even worse, both in regards to the delivery of the lines and the lines themselves.
Oh, yeah. There she is. Total effing MILF.
I felt something. Unlock my mind. I wish you would fucking stop calling me that. I hate that name. My name is
Total effing MILF.
Alarm's going off right in the middle of the fucking review. So I'm just gonna have to wait. Okay, good. Sorry, by the way, I've got a cold, so I'm having a bit of a sexy voice, like I'm Scar or something. I never thought hyenas essential. This fucking film, is a violent onslaught of stunted robotic exposition dumps that completely alienate the audience. If you remember that confusing scene with the architect in The Matrix Reloaded, where you have to rewind it and watch it 30 times over just to even partially understand what the fuck's being said.
Your life Life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix.
This new film is like that, but for 80% of the runtime. And I actually really like that architect scene. I think it's gloomy and daunting and trippy. And the actor who plays the architect is fantastic.
While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control.
All of this exposition in The Matrix Resurrections may be meaningful, but any potential it has at being profound or interesting is utterly butchered by the stilted delivery, and just the sheer frequency of information that's endlessly being hurled at the audience throughout the runtime.
This model is a loop or treadmill. Some sort of sequencer evolving a program to do what?
We can't see it, but we're all trapped inside these strange repeating loops. And suddenly I understood.
This is not the real world. Oh, honestly, when somebody offered me these things, I went off on binary conceptions of the world and said that there was no way I was swallowing some symbolic reduction of my life. And the woman with the pills laughed because I was missing the point.
Here's the thing about feelings. They're so much easier to control than facts.
The worse we treat you, the more we manipulate you, the more energy you produce. And the best part, zero resistance. People stay in their pods, quietly yearning for what you don't have, while dreading losing what you do.
When it isn't raping your ears with extensive lore explanations, however, the dialogue is still inherently cringy for the remainder of the runtime. Unfortunately, no one can be told how cringy the dialogue is. They have to see it for themselves.
Total effing MILF.
A quick peek can't hurt.
Did you hear that? Shit, I think our signal was traced. Bugs, this feels like a trap.
Switching their synaptic WTF light on. Ideas are the new sexy.
You know what's gross? I'm going wild. I'll have a cortado today.
Fly that freak flag. Thought you quit.
I quit calling it a habit. Now it's just a guilty pleasure.
Genius inside the context of the game, BT dubs.
None of these characters feel human. They don't talk like real people.
We both come here.
Can I have your morning bun?
Hey, you trying to ball my mom or what?
Brandon,
Babe, what's going on? We're gonna be late.
this is my husband, Chad.
They're utterly soulless and impossible to connect with. Jonathan Groff from Mindhunter and Yahya Abdul Mateen II. Well, that's a pretty fucking dank name there. They were the only performers that managed to do a semi-decent job, who occasionally sold you on the appalling dialogue they were given. Well, you know, at least the editing's good.
This can't be real. Target acquired, we got it.
This film has the worst sense of momentary pacing out of all Hollywood releases in the last maybe 10 years, both on a scene-to-scene and shot-to-shot level. Any first-year film student with a camera and iMovie could deliver a piece of media of more sophistication than this.
Problemo?
You lost something.
Is this old Matrix code?
A little modal experiment.
Let's just do a little game called Pretend the acting and the dialogue and all that isn't shit. Isn't like atrocious, isn't like cancer. The scenes would still not evade being sexually assaulted due to the awful editing that's still there. Really bad editing in and of itself is enough to ruin a movie. The same's true with really bad acting and really bad dialogue. This film is all fucking three. 1, 2, 3. It's constantly cutting at awkward moments that don't give you any time to breathe or take in the characters or their performances.
Sure. Have a seat. Smoke?
You can't get involved with the scene. Like, am I watching the film or am I watching the highlight reel of the film? The visual language of cinema that editing is supposed to provide, that tool is crucially, archaically misused. I'm just looking up synonyms for bad at this point on the web. There are so many instances where no cinematic significance is given to certain story beats or plot points, and it's really jarring. Scenes just begin and end unceremoniously, like one after the other. We're gonna go over here now. Oh good, we're here. Look, we are here now, good. We're gonna go over there now, and we're gonna meet that person over there. Oh hello, we've met that person. Here is the person. New person in the film. We are here in a different place now. Just It's like, if you're like a normie watching this and like, oh, it's just editing, that's just fancy film tool. I know it's fucking not. It's crucial, honestly. Anyone with fucking half a brain can fucking notice it. The editing, honestly, is like 50% in the movie. It's 50% of the craft. I don't know, well, maybe more. What was that other thing that made the first Matrix good? Oh yeah, the action. Does this new film have good action? Not really. So I need to go for a piss. Honestly, if I film me having a piss, it'd be a better action scene than anything in the fucking new Matrix. There's a new visual stylization to the bullet time moments, which is really weird. It's like it starts lagging, like it's gone down a frame rate. Too many kids flooded the Matrix servers on Roblox, it seems. There are a lot of weird stylistic choices like that. Again, it makes it feel like some kind of YTP or like a David Lynch shitpost. Like Twin Peaks, but with bad filmmaking. Let's have a look at the notes. What else was there that was shit? Old age makeup. Yeah, that was really goofy. Didn't look convincing at all, but by the point you see that, you're like, this film is just fucking tapped.
He was elected unanimously High Chair of the Council. Oh, how he loved that.
One thing that's worth noting is, of course, the original Matrix films had that iconic green colour palette to indicate when they were in the Matrix, and there were two different colour palettes for the real world and the Matrix, and it was very interesting, really creative, really cool. This new film does put a partial emphasis on the colour blue, which is interesting, because that represents the blue pill, like conformity and being asleep and a sheep, like self-imprisoned and numb. But however, there isn't really any noticeable change in the colour palette between the real and the Matrix world, which is disappointing because that was a little detail in the trilogy that was just creative and communicated something efficiently but also artistically. It is lame to see that this colour palette isn't being used cleverly in this new film. Not doing that anymore, apparently. The original Matrix trilogy was directed by the then Wachowski brothers, now Wachowski sisters. They are a director duo who haven't made anything remotely competent since the third Matrix film, at least to my knowledge, but I think they were partially involved in V for Vendetta. Only one of the siblings returned to direct the Matrix Resurrections, however. Lana Wachowski. A good number of Matrix fans have often speculated that perhaps the surgeon who conducted the duo's sex changes secretly removed the organ or the muscle that made them competent filmmakers. Yeah, that was a joke, by the way, just in case. Regarding the philosophy of the film that I mentioned previously, the way that this film starts off was straight up baffling. Neo has been plugged back into the Matrix. This is a new Matrix, like a new version of the Matrix, by the way. His Matrix persona is a game designer who 20 years ago designed the Matrix trilogy games, which were groundbreaking video games within the Matrix world. It's really convoluted and hard to explain. I don't, and obviously I'm explaining it, so that's making it even worse. But what happens is people are always coming up to him and saying, oh, you're that guy who made the Matrix trilogy video games 20 years ago. What a groundbreaking series that was.
I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass, but the first time I played the trilogy, I was shook.
But you made the Matrix. Even I've heard of that.
Yeah. We kept some kids entertained.
And then he goes to his boss, who's like, oh, well, people want you to make a Matrix 4, believe it or not. And then, just in case you weren't getting it, like it was going over your head, they then say,
I'm sure you can understand why our beloved parent company, Warner Brothers, has decided to make a sequel to the trilogy.
What?
I did not expect that level of meta commentary. I mean, it's interesting.
Now, the packet in front of you has our focus group research. Inside, you'll find a breakdown, including key word association with the brand.
Like, fucking hell, like, it's being so meta.
The top two being originality and fresh, which I think are great things to keep in mind as you begin working on Matrix 4.
I was in disbelief. And then later I'm explaining it to my mates, like, oh, it started like this. They started doing all this, and they thought I was fucking taking the piss. And I was like, no, seriously, it starts like that. For what it's worth, I thought that was interesting.
What made Matrix different?
You're F with your head. People want us up in their grey space.
I've got zero tolerance for anything that requires a syllabus and a highlighter. I like my games big, loud, and dumb.
It's trying to deconstruct the Matrix films and their legacy in pop culture. Like, it's being self-critical.
Need guns. Lots of guns. Matrix means mayhem.
Mindless action is not on brand.
She's right. Matrix is mind-born.
Obviously, the Matrix is about
trans politics.
Crypto-fascism.
It's a metaphor
Of capitalist exploitation.
Commenting on the lack of originality in Hollywood.
This cannot be another reboot, retread, regurgitate.
Why not? Reboots sell.
It did partially remind me of Twin Peaks: The Return in that way. Now, it's not exactly subtle, but it is fascinating. Like, it's a fucking fascinating thing just for that.
You say Matrix, this is what they see.
It is blatantly laid out, but it's trippy.
I'm sure you can understand why our beloved parent company, Warner Brothers...
Fucking Warner Brothers. It does this thing where they repeat story beats from the original trilogy, and as they're doing so, they smirkingly remark on that fact that they are doing the same thing.
At last. I wasn't too sure about the callback, but you know, it's just hard to resist.
And like they commentate on the original scene.
Morpheus Uno, reveal at the window, lightning, thunder, and theater. At last.
They keep doing that. They keep commentating on all of like the plot beats of the first and second, third Matrix films.
It's all about set and setting.
It's nutty. It's fucking nutty. And it could have actually been a real fucking cool film, because the second Trainspotting does something similar.
Here's a good one. How about the time you sold Tommy his very first hit, leading him on to heroin addiction, HIV infection, and ultimately his death at the age of, what was it, 22, 23?
23.
23. How innocent was that?
Aye, that's mine.
Did you base your main character on yourself?
There is a lot of me in it.
But despite all of that attempted meta-commentary, it still ends up devolving into a beat-for-beat retread of the original Matrix films, and it is still partially a soft reboot in nature, so it didn't really build on those themes of originality and doing something different. They just sort of ended up making a shite YTP version of the first film. There are some new ideas, like the Sentinels. Some of the Sentinels, like the robots in the real world, some of them are on the good team now, they're on the good side. It's a little bit of a change in circumstance, but structurally it's all like the same. There's also a cool special effect where programs can now take on physical forms, and that's like kind of cool. There's so much lore, like a lot of passion went into this. Oh yeah, the guy from Mindhunter is supposed to be the new Smith, sort of. One thing that stood out to me about this new Smith is this really effeminate walk down the stairs that he does that just really isn't intimidating. It's just so like, what? That's not scary. Looks like a fucking lost tourist on holiday. And in that scene, that French guy from the second film shows up, who's like homeless now or something.
You stole my life. Chante ta grand-mère la pute, je vais baiser tes ancêtres, et mon fils de...
Then he starts spouting out all of this meta shit, like, oh, the originality, oh, things were better back then in 20 years ago.
We had style, we had conversation, not this beep, 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 beep.
It's so stupid. They're all having this fight, and then there's this French guy who's just stood on the side shouting all of this meta commentary shit.
Oh, better, originality mattered. You gave us space to suck and couch flick.
Honestly, it is a weird fucking movie. And there's a scene where he finds Trinity again, and she gives this really weird delivery.
Oh my god, what happened?
Oh god, what happened?
An accident.
Kush, call a doctor.
It's fine.
What are you doing?
Mate, they couldn't get Morpheus back. Who gives a shit about this old lady character? Why has she got so much screen time? I don't want to be mean either, but Why are so many of the characters like these weird hipster creatures? Like, it's a very particular thing. It doesn't look cool though. Like, the Matrix is supposed to be cool, but like, I don't care. What the fuck are all these vegans doing here? You're not cool. Is it possible to have a character with a good hairstyle other than Keanu Reeves? And I know before I was actually praising some of the ideas in the social commentary, but there is a moment in this film where someone literally uses the word sheeple. Like, okay.
But here's the thing. The sheeple aren't going anywhere.
I feel like I'm stating the obvious here, but this fails at being an action-adventure film in every possible way. Awful characters you can't connect with, convoluted story you can't get invested in, the pacing and structure is hackneyed and there's no organic flow, and the action is just this cringy shit that makes you laugh.
It's in my mind. It's in my mind.
I mean, it is just a dog shit movie, but I'm not angry. Because it was so interesting, at least for the first like hour, and it is hard to quantify, and I was like overwhelmed, and I was like, how am I going to review this? Because was that a masterpiece I just saw? This is what I rated it on Letterboxd, and I know like, oh fucking hell, that's brutal, but if I like show you a spectrum of like how the film's like the quality of film works, it's better to be on either end of the extreme, because that makes it interesting, than like in the middle, like the bland in the middle bit, which is like where Ant-Man or whatever the fuck, I don't know why I thought of that. That's where all of these bland, forgettable films lie. So it's better to be like some extreme, like extremely good or extremely shit. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on the new Matrix film. But hang on there a second, I'm interested in hearing your opinions on the new Matrix films. I really am interested. Did you think the movie was good? Drop your opinions in the comments below. Actually, no. Let's use the comments to talk about something else. Have a debate on the abortion issue. Should be fairly clean cut. It's not that divisive an issue. So, yeah. Try and figure that one out. Both on a... Sorry, it's just a car.